Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly epic myth where the traditional roles of good and evil, they are completely flipped upside down. We're going to give you a completely covered visual summary of a story where gods act like paranoid villains, demons live like absolute saints, and it all revolves around a cosmic heist-level weapon. It's packed with irony, divine deception, and just awe-inspiring destruction. So let's jump right in.
Okay, picture the creator, Brahma. He's utterly exhausted, right? But relieved. The cosmos has just been restored to perfect order because the great demon Taraka has finally been eliminated. The universe is safe. Well, that joy is incredibly short-lived because right as he's celebrating, Taraka's three newly spawned sons, Vidyanmali, Viryavana, and Tarakaksha, march right up to him and hit him with a pretty piercing question. They ask, "Why do you offer death to those who come seeking life?" I mean, they point out that Brahma blessed their father and other demons only for them to get slaughtered anyway. So they demand a real boon. And they know Brahma can see into the future and knows they literally have the sheer willpower to starve, meditate, and suffer to earn it.
Which brings us to Section 1, The Creator's Dilemma, or as I like to call it, a cosmic game of whack-a-mole. You see, Brahma's perfectly designed procreation has actually become his absolute biggest headache. Squashing one threat just spawned three more. So let's look at Section 2, 3 invincible citadels, basically the ultimate cosmic security system. Now, the brothers don't just want some small favor, they demand eternal life. No way, right? Brahma tells them eternal life just isn't his to give. Every living thing has to perish eventually. So the brothers pivot to the next best thing, an impenetrable defense. They get the great demon architect, Maya, to go to work, and he builds these three massive revolving citadels right in the sky. Tarakaksha gets a fortress made entirely of solid gold. Viryavana takes command of this magnificent silver citadel, and Vidyanmali, he gets the fortress of iron. Together, these three rotating airborne bases came to be known collectively as Tripura. It's almost like an ancient space station. But remember, Brahma said even inanimate objects have to be destroyed eventually. So he forced them to set the conditions for their own destruction. And the brothers, obviously thinking they're totally outsmarting the universe, set up these nearly impossible heist-like security conditions. Check this out. First, the three independently orbiting forts have to perfectly align in a single straight line. Second, this alignment will only happen for a single moment once every 1,000 years, specifically when the Pusha star is in conjunction with the moon. And third, even if all that happens, all three forts have to be pierced and destroyed simultaneously by a single flaming arrow. I mean, for all intents and purposes, that is total invincibility. And that brings us to Section 3, the paradox of piety. This is when demons become saints. Okay, this is where the story gets incredibly fascinating, because the absolute safety of these forts leads to a totally unexpected result. Think about the sheer role reversal here. On one hand, we have the Datyas, the demons. Behind the walls of Tripura, now that they have zero fear of being assassinated, they're actually displaying pious conduct. They're observing fasts, venerating the gods, and just living this ideal Vedic lifestyle. They're completely reformed. But then, look at the gods, the Devas. They are absolutely losing their minds. They're gripped by paranoia, fully convinced this whole utopia is just a front, and that the demons are secretly building an army to attack them. Seriously, the gods are the ones plotting a preemptive, completely unprovoked massacre. So the terrified gods run over to Brahma and demand he destroy Tripura. But Brahma, he holds the moral line. He totally refuses, stating clearly, "I will not allow conjecture to get the better of us." He rightly points out that the demons have done absolutely nothing wrong to merit destruction. And Shiva too. Shiva completely refuses to lift a finger against innocent beings just to soothe the gods' irrational fears. So what happens next? Section 4, a divine deception. This is where the gods play dirty. With Brahma and Shiva refusing to act, the gods turn to Vishnu. Now, Vishnu agrees that attacking righteous beings is morally wrong, but his solution? Well, it's highly questionable, to say the least. He decides that if the demons won't commit sins on their own, they need to be actively pushed into doing so. If they fall from virtue, the gods finally get their excuse to attack. To execute this really dark plan, Vishnu summons a secret weapon from the depths of the ocean, an entity named Arihant.
Arihant is this hairless being dressed all in white, created with one single purpose: to intentionally corrupt the pure minds inside Tripura. He is sent to infiltrate their society, teach them that heaven and hell are totally fake, that virtue is pointless, and to just deliberately destroy their noble Vedic lifestyle. Let's track how this tragic, slow-motion collapse plays out. On day 1, Arihant arrives and actually finds them completely impervious to his teachings. They're just ideal beings, but he chips away at them. By year 10, his lies, the idea that virtue goes unrewarded and vice is never punished, start to take root. Fast forward to year 50, and his immoral scriptures have completely permeated every single demon's soul. Finally, by year 100, the dormant chaos erupts. The fragile utopia collapses entirely, and the brothers rage into a total rebellion against the divine triumvirate. Vishnu's grim plan worked perfectly.
Which sets the stage for Section 5, the fall of Tripura, the ultimate cosmic showdown. Now the gods finally have their excuse. The demons have abandoned virtue, and Vishnu tells Shiva that the whole utopia was a lie. It's time to decimate Tripura. But wait, remember those impossible security conditions? The 1,000-year mark is approaching, the Pushya star is rising. It is time for a high-octane cosmic showdown. Shiva gathers the divine forces to assemble a weapon unlike anything the universe has literally ever seen. To even reach these orbiting citadels, Shiva needs a vehicle of miraculous proportions. So the earth itself is transformed into a blazing gold flying chariot. Brahma steps up to helm the vehicle, and the sun and moon, they serve as its massive wheels. And in a stroke of just absolute poetic justice, the very scriptures that the demons were tricked into abandoning, the 4 Vedas, are manifested as the magnificent horses pulling this colossal, world-sized chariot through the cosmos. But Shiva still needs a weapon capable of piercing gold, silver, and iron simultaneously. So he reaches down, grabs Mount Meru, the literal center of all physical and spiritual universes, and curls the entire mountain into his bow, Pinaka. And for the bowstring, he uses the colossal serpent, Vasuki. I mean, the sheer scale of this is just insane. And for the final piece, that single, flaming arrow required by the prophecy, Vishnu himself becomes the shaft of the arrow. The god of wind, Vayu, propels it, while the god of fire, Agni, powers its devastating tip. The triumvirate is fully, perfectly united in this single, terrifying weapon. Then the moment of destiny arrives. The Pushya star ascends. Exactly as prophesied 1,000 years ago, the gold, silver, and iron forts perfectly align for one single, fleeting second. Shiva draws back the Mount Meru bow and launches Vishnu, the flaming arrow. And the strike is absolutely flawless. It pierces all 3 citadels simultaneously. The invincible fortresses of Tripura burn and burst apart, cascading through the sky like a massive meteor shower. In the aftermath of this unbelievable destruction, Shiva reaches out, takes a pinch of the shimmering ash from the ruined forts, and smears it in 3 horizontal lines across his forehead, a mark that is actually still revered today. So, the really crucial point here is that this wasn't just a battle. It was a defining transformation for Shiva himself. This singular cosmic victory permanently altered his identity in the mythos. Because he wielded the great bow Pinaka, he was forever granted the title Pinaki. And because he obliterated the 3 impossible forts, he became forever known as Tripurari, the destroyer of Tripura. But as we wrap up this explainer, we really have to look past the blazing arrows and the explosive finale to the philosophical core of this myth. The demons actually achieved a peaceful, pious utopia, but the gods, driven entirely by paranoia, engineered a divine deception to corrupt them just so they could justify destroying them. It leaves us with a deeply provocative question to ponder. If gods must use deception and corruption to defeat reformed demons, who truly holds the moral high ground? It's a brilliant paradox that challenges everything we assume about the nature of good and evil. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the stories you've been told.